During the middle of a night, a police officer discovers a blood-soaked man limping down a deserted road, and he reluctantly rushes him to a local understaffed hospital where his estranged wife works. As dangerous hooded, cult-like figures start gathering and surrounding the building, they become trapped in this hospital in which not everyone is what they seem, setting in motion a series of strange and violent occurrences that will lead our characters into the depths of the hospital, where they will discover a terrible and unimaginable evil at play. Now, from the moment I saw the poster for this film with this figure kneeling before this sort of triangular gateway leading to something unappealingly tentacle-like, I was wondering if this film was going to be influenced by Lovecraftian horror, you know, the type of horror fiction developed and popularized by famous American writer Howard Phillips Lovecraft. You know, the type of fiction that puts a lot of emphasis on the cosmic horror of the unknown or the unknowable, very philosophically infused horror that involves such occult phenomena as astral possession and alien miscegenation. Lovecraft-inspired films are actually not uncommon, widely varying in various degrees of success, quality, budget, and the amount and precision of Lovecraftian themes and aspects embodied within them. Some of the best and most well-known Lovecraftian films include Ridley Scott's Alien, Sam Raimi's Evil Dead trilogy, and John Carpenter's Apocalypse trilogy, comprised of The Thing, Prince of Darkness, and In the Mouth of Madness. The original Lovecraft stories that have probably influenced this movie more than anything else are the ones that feature secret cults who make human sacrifices for these ancient extraterrestrial godlike creatures. Now these include the Call of Cthulhu, the Shadow over Innsmouth, and the Dunwich Horror. When the shit starts hitting the fan in this film, you know, when the very visceral and gelatinous and repulsive quality of Lovecraftian horror, you know, when intestines are just merging and morphing, when body parts are ripping off of bodies and then attaching themselves onto other bodies, ripping through them, tearing through them and into them, when all of this sort of stuff gets unleashed, the very first movie that popped into my mind was John Carpenter's The Thing, and I absolutely mean that in the best way possible. That film is in my top 3 favorite films of all time. It's widely considered to be one of the best horror movies ever made, with some of the best and the most effective practical special effects ever put on screen, and that's probably the best part of the movie, the special effects. And it's really cool also when the film gradually starts turning into another John Carpenter movie, Prince of Darkness, you know, with the whole opening of the interdimensional portal / gateway thing. The monster effects in the film appear to be all real and all practical. Some of them are animatronics, some of them are masks or makeup, and it's very interesting because they are not too obscured, they are not just glimpsed through with a very shaky camera. However, I think they chose to go the middle route and have monsters appear front and center for what appear to be like long stretches of time, but have them obscured by either flickering broken lights or have them be very low lit by a single light source or by a very dark color, due to the very typical horror movie trope of having monsters attacking a single person and then having them crawl back into a very obscure corridor or room or corner where the fighting usually continues on. Besides having great special effects, the story really isn't bad either, and some very major Lovecraftian themes are incorporated quite nicely into the film, like one of them, for example, being helplessness and hopelessness. Lovecraftian characters like occasionally might deal a setback to these very malignant forces, but their victories might prove to ultimately be just temporary. They might actually end up paying the price for it, and to find themselves being completely unable to escape, might actually find themselves cornered into a point of no return when they themselves will have to commit something quite horrible that will eventually lead to their end anyway. Another theme would be questionable parentage. You know, in Lovecraftian tales, like intimate relationships are represented with a sense of fearful apprehension, with a feeling that something bad is going to happen to these people. And this film is very much about parents, about pregnancy, about giving life, and about cheating death, about loss, without giving too much away. I mean, our two main characters are an estranged couple. There's a pregnant woman in this hospital who is about to give birth any second. There's an older dude acting as a sort of father figure to a younger dude. And last, but definitely not least, unanswered questions. And I think this is going to be the most frustrating thing about this film for most casual horror fans. That might actually explain the discrepancy between the audience score and the critic score on Rotten Tomatoes for this film. You see, Lovecraftian characters rarely, if ever, truly understand what exactly is happening to them, and they might actually go insane if they try to do so. And this film eventually does give us like half answers, like semi-answers. We do eventually get to find out like who is doing what and why, but at the same time a lot of things are kept in the dark, a lot of things are kept ambiguous, a lot of things are merely hinted at, leaving eventually us to guess as to what exactly they might have meant. Now that's all fine and dandy, movie, but unfortunately the acting and the dialogue in this film is really not good. Oftentimes it goes from mediocre to quite bad. And it's a horror movie, so I thought, hey, less than stellar acting usually doesn't bother me, but sometimes here it's so bad that it's hard to not notice. And that's quite a shame, because the most convincing character in this film is actually a character who never speaks because he is mute. But all of the rest of them, when they open their mouths, especially during the last act, when everyone's just scared shitless, like shitting their pants, some of them go into this barrage of fucks, like fuck, 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 fuck. And I don't know, it's just, I hate it. It's not convincing, and it's quite a shame, because otherwise this is a very, very good horror movie. I wholeheartedly recommend The Void if you're a fan of Lovecraftian horror, if you're a fan of those previous movies I mentioned, Alien, The Evil Dead, the John Carpenter movies in general. And I don't know what to ask you guys, because it seems like horror movies are the only thing I'm reviewing recently, and I think I asked all sorts of questions. Let me know anything. If you have seen this movie, what did you think about it? If you are a fan of H.P. Lovecraft, if you have read him, what do you think about him, his stories, or Lovecraft inspired films in general? What are your favorites? You can leave me anything down in the comment section. If you enjoyed my review, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so I can see you later with other reviews, folks. Until then, as always, stay cool, stay awesome, goodbye.